Hey guys, welcome back from spring break. Hopefully, you got to sleep in every day and relax. Had a little fun. Anyway, getting right back at it this week. Going to kind of revisit some of the layer masks we worked with a couple weeks ago and kind of refresh your memory on some adjustment layers and how those two elements kind of blend together, work together. So go ahead and open up Photoshop. And we're going to create a new document. We're going to go custom in size. So I'm going to make this 8 inches wide. Make sure it's inches, 5 inches tall. 72 pixels per inch is fine for this activity. Hit create, please. All right, so you have your canvas right there. I already downloaded a couple pictures, or 4 pictures that I've placed on Schoology. So you'll need to go out there and download those to your desktop so you can import them into the software. So I'm going to place my first file. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Place Embedded. And I'm going to place the image of the Corvette JPEG, that one right there. I'm going to place that. And it should bring in a nice looking red Corvette. I think this is the 2020 model. When I search the picture, I think that's what it said. So I'm going to commit that transformation. Well, I don't like the color red for my Corvette. I think it draws a little too much attention. And I want to change it to the color green. And I'm going to go back and I'm use the color range method we've used in the past. And I want you to see how this works. So just go ahead and follow along. I'm going to go to select on the menu bar and color range. All right, and I'm going to get my initial selection right there and click on the red. Now, I don't know what setting I want for fuzziness, so I can leave that somewhere in the 60s is probably fine. I'm going to turn on my localized color clusters because that will pick up additional reds near to where I'm selecting the red. So we want to make sure that is selected. And then I'm also going to click my Add to color dropper there because I'm going to go through and add more color red as I go. And you'll see the preview right here where it's white. You can see what red is showing up. So I can either click on the red that's on the car, or I can go through here in these gray areas and click on those to include those as well. So I'm going to go through and I want to get this car as white as I can on the preview right there. So just like I said, go through the car here. Now I've done this a handful of times, so I kind of know where the trouble areas are when I'm making my initial selection. And so the first time you do it, you may not get these parts, but right behind that rear tire, that red's kind of hard to pick up. The red on the spoiler is a little difficult to pick up. There's a little bit in the roof that's difficult as well. So just go through and make the selection as good as you could possibly make it, because the better your selection, the better the overall results, and you won't have to come back this and do this numerous times. All right, so I've got that pretty good. I'm going to hit OK. And it selects really good selection. Actually, that turned out really well. So it goes through and it selects all the red on the car. And at this point, I'm simply going to apply go to my adjustment button right there. I'm going to apply a hue and saturation adjustment layer right there. So I went to my adjustment button right there, hue and saturation, and it applies that hue and saturation mask to the selection. Notice that is a mask next to that adjustment layer. And the only pixels that will show on this mask are the ones in white, right? And that's important. Okay, so that is what this is going to apply to. So I'm going to take my hue, and I know from experience that if I move this to the right and far enough, it's going to bring out my greens. So I get into my greens, and I'm going to go with kind of a lime green Corvette. I think that looks good. All right, so it has applied that hue and saturation adjustment layer on that mask to the red, the area that we selected. Now, if we zoom in, I'm going to collapse this so I can see. So if I hit Command plus, I can zoom in, and I can see the areas that did a pretty good job. Now, I can see right there, I already have a little error. So my initial selection did not do a good job. Now, but because this is a mask, I can go through. I'm going to reset my colors to black and white. White is foreground. And I am going to get my brush, And I'm going to paint white over there. But before I do, I want this to look blended. So I'm not going to have my opacity set all the way at the 100 because it'll look terrible. But if I put that about 50, 40, something like that, I can go in there with my mask active and I can paint that green on that mask right there. So if I go back and forth, it's going to bring more of that green in and make it look better, okay, and make it look more natural. I can see I have a little red over there too, so I'm going to go over there and just get that a little bit. Probably do the same thing up top. Just clean it up, make it look a little better. And I can zoom out. I've made my red Corvette turn green by making a selection, applying a hue and saturation adjustment layer that goes on as a mask, and I can go back after the fact and make adjustments to it. Okay. Now I want you to get in the habit of, because we're doing all these files remotely, I want you to put your name on every document. So I'm going to get my text tool, choose a font, whatever font you want. I'm going to get into my greens and I'm going to type Mr. Feaster. Can't spell my name. And I'm going to place my name at the bottom left part of the canvas. And I want you to save your work. All right. So I've had some issues with people submitting files as Photoshop documents, and then I'm not saving them in the correct format. And it's becoming very, very inefficient for me to send text or email after email trying to get this corrected. So from this point forward, I want you to submit all your documents as JPEGs. It should simplify the process. So I want you to go to File, Save As, and you're going to save this as a JPEG file. So the format right there, instead of Photoshop, we're going to go JPEG. And we're going to call this your name vet 1. Your name vet 1. Okay. And hit save. Now I don't want to put it there. I want to put it on my desktop. Yeah, okay. And hit save. All right. All right. So then you'll submit that JPEG file to me. Okay. So that's the first car I want you to change. So once you save it, go ahead and close that. We don't need to save the Photoshop version. And then we're going to create new. So go ahead and create new. And I'm going to create a custom. And we're going to make this 9 inches wide by 5 inches tall. And we're going to hit create. And on this document, we're going to bring a second car in. So I'm going to place embedded. And where I've got files for class, not there, files for class, that one. And you would have downloaded a second Corvette called the 56 Corvette. And you place that on your canvas. So I'm going to resize that so it fits my canvas. And I'm committed. Okay, good looking car. The handle's nowhere near how the new ones do, but it's a classic looking vehicle. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. But you're going to see that we're going to have some issues with the red seats coming through, reflections on the dash. So what we're going to do at the end is go through and remove these parts as part of our selection. So same process as before. Go to select on the menu bar. Let's go to color range. And we're going to go through and start making our selection of the Corvette. So remember, I got to hit my add to button right there. So I'm adding to my selections and trying to get this as good as I possibly can. Yep, too much there. So let me start over. I start over by clicking that one, hit my add to button. I think I might bump up my fuzziness as well. That might make my job a little bit easier. Might be about as good as I can get it. Too much. So I just hit Command and Z to undo that. All right, so that might be as good as I can get it right there at this point. Remember, we can always go in after the fact with our white brush on that mask and adjust it. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, so I'm looking at my selection in there. And I'm I see that it missed some of that right there, right? Now, we all know from selection techniques throughout the semester, we can go back after the fact with other selection tools. So let's do that. I'm going to get my quick selection tool, and I'm going to size down this brush. I want to add that as part of my selection, add that as part of my selection, that. All these areas that didn't pick up for whatever reason. All right, so that's the back part. Right there, get that clean. That's looking good there, that's fine. I need to get this part added down there. And I might just have to go through and do this by hand later. That looks about as good as I can get it right there, this initial spot. All right, so that's good. Let's go ahead and back to our hue and saturation adjustment layer. So hit your new adjustment or new adjustment layer button right there. And we're going to go back to hue and saturation. All right, and this time, let's go left. And we're going to make it pink. We're going to have a pink vet. All right, so I got it pink. Looks pretty good there. I do know that some of these reds up here didn't work too well. So I'm going to go Command plus and zoom in on my front bumper because I know some of that is not pink, it's red. So I'm on my mask right there with my brush. We make sure I have white as the foreground color. And I'm going to start showing this hue and saturation there. It's going to change my red to the pink, or it's going to allow that hue and saturation adjustment layer to show through. All right, so I got that pretty good. It's not going to be perfect, but from a distance, you'll never be able to tell. The seats, that looks like that selection there was fine. So this looks good to me. So go ahead and we're going to save this once again as a JPEG. So I want to go to, oh yeah, put your name in like I told you. All right, so you're going to put your name in this one. So we're going to try to get into our, if I can find my pinks. We'll call it Mr. Feaster. All right, so I know it's my file, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG. So file, save as, where we go right there. And we're going to drop the format to a JPEG. And we're going to call this Mr. Feaster Vet 2. Okay, Mr. Feaster Vet 2, it's a JPEG file format. Save it. All right, you have your two cars done. Go ahead and make sure you upload these to the link on Schoology.